the one I want others to see. Is that louder? Yeah, I can hear. Have to start over.
Amen. Thank you, Carolyn Sowers. The church has one foundation. All right. Guess what? It's beautiful, cold, cool weather out there, isn't it? Better not say amen to that. It'd be a lie. You're at 385 East Dublin Granville Road. Do you know that? The Worthington Seventh-day Adventist Church. And you know what? It's been here a long time, but not as long as this next announcement is going to tell us. So, Sister, we call her Aunt Marge Hay, is going to come up and share with us some very important things. Get your pen and paper out and bulletin and underline as Aunt Marge tells us what we need to know. Aunt Marge.
Good morning. Do you know where we came from? Do you know where your roots are? Well, if you're wondering, come and join us at the 100th anniversary celebration of Harding Hospital. There's been an announcement in your bulletin, and we've been talking about it now for a little while, and I know you've all saved the date. Yes, it's on your calendar. Come on Friday evening, September 2nd, and you'll hear where it all started. Okay? We're going to hear about our history. We're going to see lots of pictures. And for those of you who have not been with us forever, maybe in the last few years, you'll begin to understand how we grew from a few people in the parlor of the hospital to this church where we're sitting right now. For those of you who have been with us for a long, long time, and you've been associated with the hospital, the food company, the school, whatever, you will get to see lots of friends. You'll see pictures of people that you recognize, and you'll get to see lots of friends who are coming to visit. The excitement continues on Sabbath morning. The two church services will be the same on Sabbath morning. The praise team is all going to be out of town for some reason or another. So we're going to have two church services that are the same, with the first one starting promptly at 9 o'clock. We will be having some special music offered by Faith Esham. She's been with us before, and if you've ever heard her, she's somebody that you'll want to come back and hear again. During the Sabbath school hour, we're going to have a time of remembrance, and there will be folks who are sharing stories, maybe pictures of the development of where we are today. Something that you'll really want to see. Following the second service, there will be a delicious lasagna lunch served by the ladies of the church. You all are encouraged to bring a dessert. We're anticipating lots of visitors. We will have former hospital employees, people who've been away from our church for a while, moved away and are coming back to visit, school alumni, people from the food company. So we'll need lots of desserts on that day, but the ladies of the church will be serving a lasagna dinner. Now that dinner is being sponsored by Worthington Adventist Academy. And not coincidentally, they are celebrating their 90th anniversary, the same time. So be sure to RSVP for the lunch, because we need to know how many to plan for. And what about the food company? The food company actually started in a house on Proprietors Road, just down the street, that was setting out towards the street in front of where the big food factory was built up behind them. And that's where BL Connect grew up, in that very same house. They were established to make available tasty, nutritious vegetarian meat substitute foods for church members, for the school kids, for the hospital staff, and the patients. So plan to join us that weekend, particularly starting with the Friday night service. Learn about your roots, learn about how we all grew up to come together, and please remember to RSVP for the Sabbath lunch.
Thank you. Amen? Aunt Marge swims a mile during the week. Is that amazing? Every day. Is that amazing? Have you ever tried to swim a mile before? She could be in the Olympics. I keep looking. I haven't seen you out there at the Olympics yet, but I know that you could do it. Folks, we have a potluck today, and I'm going to blame you for my wife spent all day yesterday taking all the food from the garden and making these beautiful things. If you don't eat here, it's your bad. And Carmi brings in stuff like this beautiful thing. So, there's some great food out there. I hope that you will do that. And my son says, Dad, are you going to tell people that about etiquette like you tell me? And I said, no, the people at church already know about church etiquette and food etiquette, so I won't do that today. But I told him that being the pastor's son, he has to go last. And he goes, well, that's not fair. And I said, well, we'll just go get some food afterwards if there's not enough. He goes, well, I don't want to do that. I said, well, good attitude, son. So, hey, he's learning. Thanks for helping him. He's right up there at the top there at 6 foot tall at 12 years old. So, hey, we love him. Folks, by the way, membership profile. Please take some time to fill these out. Maybe for your children if they haven't done that yet, so we can know where they're at. Birthdays, anniversaries. Miriam did a wonderful job, as she always does. To God be the glory. Great things she had done. Appreciate her work, her love, and her family that brings to us the best that we could ever possibly have. You have some flyers in here, and I would like you to know today is going to be a special time of remembrance and honoring our teachers in this, not only of a Worthington Adventist Academy, but teaching everywhere in the city of Columbus, or if you're a visitor and are a teacher, you get an apple today. There's no worms in them. I guarantee Walmart told me they wouldn't have any worms in there. Folks, as we worship, we want to say this. Hello, Pastor Yulian and Mimi, off there having fun on their 25th anniversary. Appreciate them, miss them, and they are going to be they're together right now, having a great time. Hey, look at there. Look at that picture right there. There it is. Isn't that nice? I told him some funny stuff, and that's why he's smiling in that picture. I told him that he needs to work on his tan. Let's leave it at that. And he laughed and laughed and laughed. Said he already got burned, so he's having a great time. Today, as we worship, we're going to ask our buddy Bob Bradley, who sings so beautifully, to come up, and Sister Butheris is going to play her violin, and I'm going to play a trumpet, and we're inviting those people that feel comfortable to do so, come up and play. And we'll listen to Bob as he leads, and we'll follow your lead, my friend. Let's stand together and sing this beautiful song, okay? Let's do so.
Hymn 334, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. A great old Seventh-day Adventist hymn, Baptist hymn, been around for years. Let's all sing together. Everyone with me now, sing it out. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy praise, sings of mercy, never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me ever to adore thee, may I still thy goodness hide, while the hope of endless glory fills my heart with joy and love. Hold on a second, Carolyn. Are you with me this morning? Let me hear you say amen. You know, I don't like to stand up here and sing a solo every week. I'm getting old, my voice is no longer that great, but I'm trying to give it all that I can. Now sing with me like you enjoy singing and like you really want that fountain of every blessing to come. Amen? Second stanza, let's go. Here I raise my Ebenezer, hither by thy help I've come. Sing it out. And I hope for thy good pleasure, safely to arrive at home. Jesus saw me while a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger, interpose his precious blood. Last stanza. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor, strength to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind me closer still to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. Thank you.
As mentioned, today is an honoring of our teachers. And the call for prayer will include this today. I first would like for our elders to please come up to the front. Maybe a couple elders over here and a couple elders over here. So your church elder, if you help me out, I'd appreciate it, okay? Charlie, you're an elder. Ricky, you're an elder. Yes, Doris, thank you. I need at least one more elder on each side. Do I see another elder? There we go. That's my brother over there. There you go. Now, folks, I'm going to call for our teachers. This is not just the teachers. First, I'm going to call for the teachers of Worthington Adventist Academy, just so we can see who they are, and everybody's going to be coming in a minute. So, if Carmi, you come on up. I know that you'll give strength and hope for Shirlene right over here. Are there other? Yes, Barbara. No, we'll get you in 1 second. We'll get you in 1 second. First, Barbara, come up here. And is there someone else from our school? Yeah, Robin, Becky, come on. Whoever's teaching at Worthington Adventist Academy, are you teaching at Worthington Adventist Academy? Oh, okay, you're a substitute. You come on up here. That's right. We appreciate you for doing that, but very much. We'll stand right over here by Barbara. Thanks for saying that. I appreciate that. Right up, yeah. By Barbara, right there. Okay, are there any other teachers? I know that we had this in the first service, and so some teachers can make it first service and some second. Anybody up in the balcony that's trying to sneak away from me? Okay. All right. Now, folks, this one's different. This is on TV. So we get to see all you teachers on TV. The second service. That's why it's so important. I'm going to let our board chairman lead us with a little bit here about who's who, but I'm going to ask you now for teachers in the congregation that teach, whether it's be public school, whether you teach at a private school. We had Joy, our Lattimore teaches at the diocese school. We had her come up for service. We had a person teaching at Columbus State. Are there teachers today? Johnny's going to stay there, but he teaches at Franklin University. Amen. So Robert Swisher's teacher. Does anybody else who's teacher? Yes, come on up here, please. Heather, that's right. Okay, we don't want to miss if you're a teacher, because I went out and got an apple at Walmart. Okay. Now you're lucky because I had enough apples for all of you teachers. Okay. And so I'm going to, while Dan is going to talk and he's going to give the mic to each person, but let's give our teachers a big hand first of all. Yay, teachers. Okay. And Dan, our board chairman, and as you do this, I will go down the line, give them their apple, and then we can.
I'll start. I'll come down here and start. My name is Dan, and I am privileged to serve as the chairman of the board for our school here at Worthington Adventist Church. Our school is celebrating 90 years of service this year. That means we started, if I did my math right, in 1926. Did I do that right, guys? Did I do that right? 1926. Our school has been here serving the students in Worthington. And we are going to let all the educators here just briefly share where they teach so we can have an appreciation of not just our teachers, but the teachers that are in our congregation. And then we'll have a word of blessing for them to bless their school year and to dedicate them for a year of service this year here and wherever they're teaching. But I'm going to start down here on the end and pass the mic, and I'm going to ask all the teachers just to share what your name is and where you teach. And if you're a Worthington teacher, please, here at the Academy, maybe share something you're excited about for this school year.
I'm Barbara Maycock. I teach 3rd and 4th grade at Worthington Adventist Academy. I love this grade level, and I love teaching literature. So I'm very excited for some of the pieces of literature we'll read this year. And I'm also excited to share Jesus with my students, to help them grow in their sense of self, and just to realize that Jesus loves them unconditionally. So I'm very excited for this year.
I'm Mariana Brown, and I'm the substitute teacher. Most of you know me as a nurse, but I became the substitute teacher last year, and I am excited about these wonderful teachers know so much more than I do, and I am learning so much about how to teach and what to teach, and also to teach the kids again about Jesus' love and how much He loves them, and also how much their teachers love them, and continue what they are already teaching them as best I can, because I'm still learning so much. And I learn from them, the teachers that are already there. These teachers are awesome. You have no idea how wonderful they are when they leave me their lesson plans, and everything is so detailed. They are wonderful, wonderful teachers, so you got to give them a hand. They're amazing.
I'm Shirlene Brown, and I've been teaching since 1980, which is a pretty long time. And this guy right here was in my 6th grade class. How many years ago? So that's why I came and stood by him. I'm going to let him bless me today. So I teach 2nd grade at Worthington Adventist Academy, and we were kind of asked yesterday what is our philosophy, and I don't know that this was a correct answer, but I just said I've always taught in an Adventist school. I've never taught anywhere else. And to not do that, it would just take away so much of why I do what I do. It's important to be able to immerse children every day in the Word of God and in prayer and spiritual ideas. And, so to not be able to do that, I just think I would lose my reason for teaching, which, that's just me, personally.
Hi, my name's Kim White. I've been teaching since 2004. I taught for Columbus City Schools for years, and then in the last 4 years, I've been teaching adults. There's no difference, really. But I've been teaching adults. My background is in health and PE, so I teach adults work-life balance, but I also teach online high school health. So it's amazing work, and I can't imagine my life not being able to teach and serve. So thank you.
I'm Carmi Uzunian, who most of you know. I teach kindergarten at Worthington Adventist Academy. And one of the things that I always get excited about at the beginning of the year is you put your room together and everything is all of the new families, because my kids are always new, my group, but we have a lot of new families in our school this year, and it's exciting. I look forward to getting to know them. And I just wanted to mention Pam. Pam Butheris called me this morning. She is not feeling good. She's our upper grade teacher, and she wishes she could be here this morning, but just wanted to give greetings for her.
But her mother is here.
Yes, she is.
I'm Becky Hall. I'm not teaching this year, but I will be the administrative assistant at Worthington Adventist Academy. And I'm excited just to meet all the new families, because we do have quite a few this year.
Good morning, happy Sabbath. I'm Robin Tucker. I've been teaching in the public schools and private schools since the 1990s. I'm teaching 1st grade this year at our Worthington Adventist Academy. And I look forward to teaching all the new ones. I have a full class this year. So a lot of new families. I look forward to meeting with them and enjoying to get to know them as well.
Hi, I'm Frances Obikule. I'm a nursing instructor. I teach nurses because at some point in our life, regardless of who we are, even if we are never been sick, everyone needs a nurse in their life. Even when a family member holds your hands, that's nursing. Anything that involves caring is nursing. I'm thankful to be privileged to be an instructor of nurses.
Well, I'm Robert Swisher, and I've been a member at Worthington since 1966, and I started teaching part-time for the predecessor of Columbus State. I teach electronics, and I mostly enjoyed teaching adults. I also taught adult education for the Columbus Public Schools, as well as a private junior technical college.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Heather Thorward, and this is Palmer, and he's my nephew. I teach at Central College Christian Academy. I'm a intervention specialist there. I work with kids from 4th to 7th grade. I also was a teacher at Worthington Adventist Academy. I taught 1st and 2nd grade, and I'm very lucky to be in this profession. I love what I do, and I like putting my kids first and doing my best to help them have a successful life.
All right, I'd like our two elders here, if you guys could huddle up. The two of them will pray for you, so if you guys could get in a little group over here. And we'll have you, and I'm going to have, let's go huddle by her because she's Pam's mom and she's a teacher too. So you and Ricky are going to pray for this group. And while they're praying together, and we'll let them pray, and then we're going to say this to you. These are teachers, but every one of us have had teachers. And let's dedicate the part of the teacher in us. For instance, right now, think of one teacher in your life that's made a huge difference in your life. And when they're done praying, we're going to thank God for that person that you're thinking of, okay? Every one of us. And I really appreciate this time. You can see this is, Ellen White tells us that being a mother is the greatest thing you can be, and being a teacher is the next. Well, I can't be the first one, but I can be the second one. And today I would like to be a good teacher, even as a pastor, and I know Yulene and I feel the same. So as you watch them pray, in a moment, think of that person, and we'll pray together, okay? As the teachers are going to sit down, I asked each person to think of a teacher that they admired and that they want to appreciate. My teacher, his name, and I don't know if he's going to be watching today, but his name is Bob Day. I didn't have the time in the first service, but I'm going to tell you about Bob Day. In the 7th grade, a little boy drove by the school and he flipped off the entire class. Bob Day, my teacher, Mr. Day, got out of his room, ran out the window, caught the kid on a bike, brought him back in and said, "Tell the class you're sorry." And he did. Now he'd be fired today for doing that, I'm sure. And I told him I always remember that. But what I really remember is that he loved teaching and he wanted people to learn. He told this one kid, "You wipe that smile off that smart-aleck face right now." And he said, "You're going to learn, and I'm going to stand here. If I have to stand on my head," and the kid said, "Stand on your head." He stood on his head for like 20 minutes and taught that kid this close to his face. Folks, there are people passionate about teaching, and they want to do it the best way. He's 93 years old. And I call him and I thank him. And I remember a year ago I went to visit him, as I do. I call all my teachers. That's the way that I am. I think you believe that. I know his number by memory, and I call him. And we went to Chinese food, and we took him downtown. And I had to grab his hand because he couldn't see and he couldn't walk. He goes, "I am so embarrassed." I said, "No, don't be embarrassed. It's my turn. It's my turn. It's good to see you and Ricky interact. That's nice. Hope that you'll have that connection. I'm sure he'll come to your classroom and be able to share with the students today. So as Dan shares with us about these important things, I hope that you remember this. And as I pray today as a group prayer, I'd like you to think of that person. Mine was Bob Day. Do you remember that person in your life? Could you turn to somebody next to you and say, this was mine? Give the name of the person to someone around you that you're thinking of. Go ahead. Just take a minute. This is church. You can do it. Say, I was thinking of this person. Give a name. Get that name out that you thought of right now to that person. Even if it's your husband or wife, tell them, this is who I'm thinking about right now. Carolyn, did you think of somebody? I want to hear what it is. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for sharing. I asked Carolyn, our head elder, who she was thinking of, and she said she was thinking of Elder Charles Dart. Anybody know him? Well, Dr. Hardy knows him. Oh, Verlu Schultz. Charlie, do you know him too? Just because you guys don't know this, George, Charlie, Carolyn, I want you to know that Charlie Dart is the person that signed me into the ministry. I thank him very much as well. So he's been his son and I are friends too now. But I'm saying that's a nice combination. So the person that helped me become a minister was Charles Dart. So I'm thankful for him. He's from Ohio. Lord, bless us today. Bless us on live streaming. Who would have thought 30, 40 years ago that church could be live streamed over the world? And that when names are given, people can see them and they can appreciate things too. Now, I know that there's negative to everything that's positive, but according to Revelation, love wins, and love is you because you're the author and the finisher of our faith. I know that the Worthington Seventh Adventist Church has been here a long time and will continue to be here until your second coming. I believe that with all my heart that each one of us are the body of Christ, and in the body of Christ, we must look out after each other. Some days we're motivated to be a little stronger than other days. The scriptures say many things, but one stands clear to me. Those of us who are strong must bear those that are weak. So I ask today that I will remember that I will never lose my purpose and my sight. Thankful for my wife and family who have taught me to consider all people along with all things. And today as we reason together, as we have sung, and as we have shared, as we've seen our teachers, as we appreciate not only Worthington Adventist Academy that is thriving where many schools are not, I believe it's because we as a church are taking an effort to appreciate those things. And to those that are teaching other places, this world has almost 8 billion people. There are enough churches and enough schools filled thousands of times if we just reach out to each other. So let that be our story. Be with Pastor Julian and his beautiful wife on their anniversary. We appreciate them so much and the ministry that they bring to us, not only by preaching in Sabbath schools, but by just being positive, loving people. We want to thank you for that. Bless the efforts that we have, the food that's coming today. I hope that people will be inspired to come and eat together. And if they don't want to eat, maybe they just come and shake some hands and get to know some people, because this church is a big church with 2 services in it. And may each one of us, as we go from here, come back a better person and hear those words, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many. Amen and amen. Deacons, come on up and let's do the deacon thing. And I'm going to tell you, we need some more deacons. We appeal to people, and they do come up, but we just need a few more. So I would like for you to put in the mailbox. Nice haircut. That really, he looks like he's 16 years old over there. I tell you, 17. Oh, there you go, 17. We need to have you say, you know what, I wouldn't mind being a deacon or a deaconess. We need that. So let's do that. We got teachers. We're working on everything. Let's work on that too. Are we going to have one more deacon over here, or we can handle it with that way? He can handle both. That is awesome. Okay. Before we pray, I know it's the Olympics. I give both the same talks for the first service and the second service. In the Olympics, it takes a lot of money to run the Olympics. Do you believe that? There are people that are coming that have had training every moment of their life. It costs thousands and millions of dollars. Then there's other people from countries that have nothing. They just went out and threw a cabbage head at something and learned how to throw the shot put, you know? I mean, seriously, they're just people out there hitting a stick with some innard, right? And then they're the greatest players that ever lived. So training comes, they were showing the gymnast, this one girl that wins she's doing the most phenomenal things you've ever seen in your life with this. And 40 years ago, they wouldn't even have thought of doing those. So the human body is amazing, but it takes training, it takes teachers, it takes whole organizations. We're thankful for Worthington's organization of love. We have a campus here, school, young babies, all the way up to the 8th grade, and even in here when we have collegiate Sabbath schools and young adults. Thank you for that. Let's look after each other. And like the Olympics, when we see those stories, some of them are the agony of defeat, but many of them are the thrill of victory. May that be ours today, the thrill of victory, because we found something that most people didn't find, and that's the Lord. Okay? So we're pumped up on that today, and as we hear the music, let's, as Bob Bradley would say, let's be excited about what God has done for us and show him what we can do for him. Right, Bob? Yeah. Heavenly Father, thank you again. People like to read in the bulletin where it says prayer, and then they have their idea of whatever it is. Well, prayer is an open communication to God and to others. And may my open communication be, yeah, we talked about the Olympics, but really the story of the Olympics are the story of each person and what they sacrificed for and who sacrificed for them. And that's why I give, or I would not. So today, as we sacrifice for the sake of our church, even if there were some things or some people that we didn't necessarily feel should be in a position, or even the pastor himself may not feel that way, note if the person is willing and obedient, they will eat of the fruit of the land. So thank you for these promises, and may the offerings windows be opened unto this church, and may great things happen in your name. We ask these things in your name, and all the people said, amen. Thank you so much.
I see in the mirror, the one I want others to see? Do I show in the way that I walk in my life the love that you've given to me? My heart's desires to be like you in all that I do, all that I am. Do they see Jesus in me? Do they recognize your face? Do I communicate your love and your grace? Do I reflect who you are in the way I choose to be? Do they see Jesus, Jesus in me? Well, it's amazing that you'd ever use me, but use me the way that you will. Help me to hold out a heart of compassion and grace, a heart that your spirit fills. May I show forgiveness and mercy the same way you showed it to me. Do they see Jesus in me? Do they recognize your face? Do I communicate your love and your grace? Do I reflect who you are in the way I choose to be? Do they see Jesus, Jesus in me? Well, I want to show all the world that you are the reason I live and breathe. So you'll be the one that they see when they see me. Do they see Jesus in me? Do they recognize your face? Do I reflect who you are? Praise. Do I reflect who you are in the way I choose to be? Do they see Jesus? Oh, Jesus in me.
That is by far one of my favorite hymns and praise songs. And a question each of us should ask ourselves this morning, and a perfect way to get into our sermon, is to ask each of ourselves, can the world see Jesus in us? Please bow your heads with me. Let's have a quick word of prayer. Father in heaven, I know that all of us come to church today with pain and suffering, Lord, with cares and woes from the week. I pray that you would take us away for just a few minutes. Give us fellowship with our fellow believers. Give us a chance to reflect on your love and your grace and how our response to that love and grace should be seen by the world. Bless me this morning. Give me a clear mind and make me a vessel of your word so that I can be blessed and that your children will be blessed as well. Amen. Well, I have to admit to you all this morning, let me turn my mic on. Would that help, Johnny? He's probably like, Dan, turn your mic on. Two confessions before we start today. First confession, last night was a particularly difficult night in the intensive care unit at Ohio State, and I was actually in staffing last night taking care of a very, very ill person from about 11 p.m. to about 3 a.m. this morning. So I did not get much sleep this morning, and it wasn't because of not getting my sermon written or not because my son was keeping me up, but because I was working. So I pray that you would say a prayer for me this morning too, that I can keep focused on what our task is at this morning. The second confession is that I think this week I had a sermon that I kind of had in my heart that I wanted to share with you, but I think the Lord gave it to me because he knew I needed to hear it. So I hope that I will be able to listen to the words that the Lord gave me this morning, and maybe, hopefully, y'all will get something out of it as well. My topic this morning is train up a child. I thought that'd be a fitting topic this morning because we dedicated our teachers this morning for another school year. Many of you know that I recently became a father. And I'm going to talk about Palmer, my son, today during the sermon. He's back there with Aunt Heather in the back listening. But I am going to talk about him. They say that when you become a parent, your whole world changes. And of course, that's very true. You don't sleep as much. You have someone who is constantly on your mind, and their whereabouts and their well-being at 24 hours a day is your utmost priority. It doesn't change everything. I mean, a lot of the things that we carry with us through our early part of our lives, I think we carry with us into adulthood and into being parents. Now, obviously, I'm no expert. I've only been a dad now for 4 months. But luckily, the Bible has a lot of teaching on the subject of parenting and on growing people of faith, not just for children and parents, but also for us as spiritual people in the church, mentoring and bringing up those behind us in the church. So we're going to talk about some of those things today through the perspective of a very familiar story to us in Genesis, the story of Joseph. I don't have my clicker today, so up in the booth there, they're watching for my little go sign there. All right. This verse I picked for today's sermon was the first verse I ever had highlighted in my Bible. When I got my brand new Bible to start the 3rd grade at Meadowglade Elementary School in Battleground, Washington, my dad highlighted this verse for me in my Bible. It's in Proverbs. It says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." I think that the Bible talks a lot to us about how we can train up a child. I think my personal belief I've come to is that training up a child or training up anybody is based upon how you yourself choose to behave and choose to be. I can tell you that as an ICU nurse, I typically see families that a patient may be suffering from the effects of alcoholism, other organ systems. And it's not uncommon to see in that a grandparent, an uncle, also with those same issues. The same goes for many things in this world. The example that we set is the most powerful message that we can give to our kids. How we choose to be ourselves, how we act, speaks so much louder than our words. During this political season, you can see politicians on the right and the left talking about things that you know that they don't believe in or they don't think is true. They just say things because they're politicians. People's actions tell us what they actually believe. You can tell people to treat people with love and respect, but if you don't yourself treat people with love and respect, that's the message that the people seeing you and our children see from us. Sometimes I think it's easy for us to believe that our voices don't matter that much. You know, you got up this morning, you came to church, you chose this morning to come in, and just by being here, you're making a statement. All the people here in church with you today can see you, can see how you act, can see how you address people. And those actions, the way you treat the people around you today, right now, is speaking volumes. You're communicating volumes to the people around you without even talking. And that what you're communicating to them is the most powerful message you can. And that is, this is what I believe because this is how I'm choosing to act. And that's a theme we're going to come back to later in the sermon. Let's go ahead and advance here, guys. Thank you. One thing that's really struck me since becoming a parent is that time is short. This is something that I've been aware of for a long time. Before I was a nurse, I was a paramedic. And so I've been dealing with life and death and very ill people for a long, long time. And I learned a long time ago that one of the reasons and one of the things you'll see in nurses and paramedics that really deal with the sickest people and are very successful at it over time are people that go into these situations where people are very, very sick. And after that experience of caring for them, they come away and say, I am so blessed. You leave that experience feeling like, man, I am so lucky. Today, standing here before you, the fact that I'm not on a ventilator and I am here walking around in front of you, I am so blessed and I am so lucky. And shame on me if I don't take advantage of that gift the Lord has given me. I think about Palmer, and I'm going to talk about him in just a minute, but my son is about 4 months old. He really can't understand what I say to him yet when I talk to him. He's still trying to figure out how to form words and how to use his limbs, and he will be in that stage for a while. But the time that I have as a parent, from the time that he can actually get what I'm saying, to the time that he's probably, 11 or 12, and he no longer thinks that dad is cool, and dad's crazy, and there's nothing I'm going to say that he's going to listen to. And that window of time, between the time that he can understand me and the time that he gets to be a teenager and wants to listen to his peer group, as his first primary source of information rather than me, I have a lot to teach him. I started making a list when Jenny was pregnant about all the things I wanted to talk about and teach him. Art, history, theater, science, Bible stories that impacted my life. And I think about that window of time that I have to communicate those things to him. And I think that it's upon me to realize that because I have such a short window to really reach him, that it's important that I message to him what I believe, not just with what I say, but how I act and how I treat people. I'm not a pastor. I am proud to be an elder of the church, but I am not a pastor. But I know that the sermon titles and the content that I choose to share with you when I get a chance to speak at church is really important because we have so little time. For those of you that aren't Seventh-day Adventists that might be here today or watching at home, our church really, especially has a message for the world in terms of the soon return of Jesus Christ. That we truly believe that God is coming again soon and the time is short. And I think that as Christians, that should inform our worldview. That should help us decide how we interact with those around us because the time we have is so short. Now, those principles we're going to talk about specifically and how it relates to bringing up young ones and about helping those that we are mentoring within the church. I think I'm going to say let's go in advance again because I think I've covered a lot of that content. See, guys, aren't you glad I'm here today? My sermons, they tend to be very brief compared to some of our other speakers. So this is Palmer. I told you I would introduce you to him. This is my son when he was about 72 hours old, maybe a little bit less than that. There at Ohio State where he was born. Let's go one more slide. You guys can see a few more photos here. That's him in the hospital there on the top left with me. And then next to him is a picture of us in Alaska about 3 weeks ago, and he became a junior ranger, which we were very excited about. And then next to it, that's Pelotonia. Last week, I finished a ride, the first time I'd ever done 180 miles on a bike in 2 days, and that was an amazing experience. And a few other photos from around there. So that's Palmer. He has dramatically changed my life and my wife's life for the better, and it's because of his arrival that I really started thinking about some of these things that I want to share with you today. Let's go ahead and advance again here. This is taking us to the meat of what I want to talk to you about.
The first story that I'd like us to think about this morning comes from Genesis. If you have a Bible, or you have your iPhone or iPad with your Bible on it, let's take a look at Genesis, and let's start with chapter 39 of Genesis. I'm not going to spend a lot of time reading the content, but I want you to open it to look at the story of Joseph. There's three parts in my mind to the story of Joseph. The first part of Joseph's story is his growing up as a young man, and his time when he was in a very affluent family, a very respected family, lots of brothers, lots of livestock, and then his sort of position within the family was elevated by his father, who sort of favored him as his favorite son. And he even gave him a garment, a multicolored garment that we often refer to today as his coat of many colors. That story I think we're all familiar with. We know that story pretty well. He got the coat, brother's not happy, and he goes in a pit. He's sold to Egypt. Then the backside of it, we're going to skip ahead just for a minute. At the end of his story, he becomes the most powerful administrator in the most powerful nation on earth. He becomes second in command only to Pharaoh himself in the kingdom of Egypt. But in between there is where I think the meat lies. Joseph, as a young man, finding himself at the bottom of that pit, cast in there by his family, sold into slavery, straight up human trafficking, sold to a country where he doesn't speak the language, he's not educated in the customs, he has no family and no legal recourse to change his situation, and finds himself enslaved in Egypt. No hope, no prospects. All he had with him was his attitude, his ability to look at a situation and remember the teachings of his family, to love God, and to obey his tenets. So he's in a pretty bad situation. We'll agree that being sold into slavery, pretty bad situation, right? But he doesn't end up in the worst situation. He gets a pretty good family to work for, Potiphar. And if you look here at verse 1 of chapter 39, you can see Potiphar employs him or uses him. I shouldn't say employs him since he was a servant. He was a slave. And then suddenly Satan comes to him with a temptation. At this point in his life, what has he got left to hold on to his morals for, right? He's a slave. He's never going to have any other life except to be a slave. He's far away from his country. He doesn't know the language. And his employer's wife, probably a very attractive woman, comes to him and says, I want you to cheat on my husband with me. No one will ever know. Maybe you'll get maybe I could entice you with a little bit better quarters, maybe some better rations. This is going to work out for you. All I need you to do is cheat on my husband with me, and your life can be so much better. I can't think of much he would have to lose in that situation. But instead of taking the bait and following that path, he said, that would be sinning against God and against my master. I cannot do that. And because he chose to do the right thing, what happens to him? Does he get rewarded for that behavior? No, he goes straight to prison. So he went from being an indentured servant, a slave, to being a prisoner in prison in Egypt before the Middle Ages. Not a great situation. He literally has no way he's ever going to find himself in any other situation except that he will die young and he will die a prisoner. That to me seems a very dire situation. Probably a time when I would be questioning whether or not those morals that got me into that situation were worth holding on to. But he chose to stay with it. He chose to continue to believe in God. He chose to continue to pray. And he continued to be an example to those around him with his actions. And because he chose to do that, God put him in a situation where he was able to start interpreting dreams for those around him. Folks who had once worked for Pharaoh himself, they had disturbing dreams. And he, through a prayer, when he was praying to God and asking for some to be able to assist these folks who were in prison with him, he was able to help them find great meaning in their dreams, because God gave him the vision of what those dreams meant. Eventually, those folks got out of prison and were back in Pharaoh's court. And as you all know the story, as it becomes, again, the story we're very familiar with, Pharaoh eventually calls him himself and says, come to me, I've had some very disturbing dreams. I would like you to interpret them the way you interpreted the dreams of these folks who work for me. And because of his faithfulness to his beliefs, because of his attitude and not giving up and staying true to what his core beliefs were, he went to a situation where he became the most powerful person only in the world. I would venture to say there's probably no other way that God could have got him into that situation. He couldn't have got to it from where he was born by seeking political office or education. There is no way he got from being that son in that wealthy family to being the second most powerful man in the world by any other means than becoming a slave and then eventually a prisoner. Now, if you'd gone to him early on and said, here's what I'm going to have to do to get you where I'm going to put you, he probably would have said no thanks, or that sounds crazy. So I think that there's a point here in the story, and I think the point is that when we find ourselves in situations that cannot possibly, in our opinion, be in any way redeemed, God has a plan and can use those situations to bring us out on the other side to a new place that's stronger and better if we believe. I think that is a perfect story that illustrates how your belief and your attitude, even in desperate and dire situations, can lift you and elevate you to places you never dreamed, because God can use people who put God's plan first. Let's flip over now to the New Testament, Matthew, the first book of the New Testament, and we're going to start here in chapter 18. You have to give me a second here as I flip to it myself here. San Mateo. And we're going to go to 18. That's chapter 18, and let's get to verse 21 and start there. I have to keep looking up. There we go. All right, everybody getting there? I want to talk about real fast, before we dive into the text here, what that bullet says there. How to respond to hate. So what this slide really is illustrating is those two big themes that are things that I've pulled out as I've been thinking this week about things that I want to teach Palmer. The first is your attitude and your perspective define your reality. Joseph did not let his situation change his reality. For most of us, it probably would have. It would have definitely changed and made me question and probably even maybe turn my back on my beliefs to find myself in that situation, to feel so abandoned by God. But because of his attitude and his perspective, he found himself in a place that no one would have imagined him being. That's the first principle. The second is how to respond to hate. And the reason this came up to me this week is because there's been so much hate in the world recently. I hope, like you, believe that God died for all of us, every single person on this planet. It doesn't matter where you were born, what you look like, or where you're from. God loves you, and Jesus Christ, his Son, died for you. That being said, there are a lot of God's children around the world who are doing some very, very, very hateful, destructive, and painful things to each other, using bombs and guns to simply destroy life, to destroy human life. And in the face of that, just like with Joseph in that situation where what could possibly come out of it, how do I tell Palmer to respond when someone with bias or with discrimination treats him with hate? How do we as Christians respond to hate? And I think there's two good answers here in Matthew. Let's start here in chapter 18, verse 21. In my Bible, the NIV, this is titled The Parable of the Unmerciful Servant. Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, "How many times shall I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Up to 7 times?" Jesus answered, "I tell you not 7 times, but 70 times 7 times." In this version, it says 77 times. 10-fold more than Peter thought. When someone reaches out to us with hate and malice and anger, the human response is to respond with hate and malice and anger. But that's not God's model. God's model is to respond with love, understanding, patience, and forgiveness. And that is not something that comes from us. That's not a human reaction. For those of you that aren't Seventh-day Adventists, you may not be aware of all the history of our church, but when I was in college, we were going through a time in our world church where there was some financial sort of issues on the international level. In our conference, our president of our church got caught up in some money issues and ended up leaving office. And I remember coming into school that day, and I think I was a freshman in college, and my professor saying, if you expected to find salvation in men or in a man, you're looking at the wrong place. Men will always let you down. It doesn't matter what political beliefs they have. It doesn't matter if they're Adventist, Catholic, Baptist, Hindu. It doesn't matter. Men will always let you down. Always. The only place that you can put your faith and find a perfect example and eventually perfect salvation is in God, is in His love and His promise of salvation through Jesus. That's the only place that you're going to find a true example, because men will always let you down, because men will fail, because we are all sinful. It's not of us to respond to hate with love, but it is of God. Let's take a look at Matthew 5. Let's go flip back here toward the start of the book, in the 5th chapter. And let's go to the end toward the end here at 38 to 42. I'm just going to read this version here, and I'm going to start at 38, and I'm going to read through 42. And these are the words of Jesus. You have heard it said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. That's the human response. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn and give him the other also. And if someone wants to sue you and take your tunic, give him your cloak as well. If someone forces you to go a mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who asks, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. I think there's 2 principles here that'll help us. One, God's asking us to respond with love to those around us when they don't treat us well. 2, the things in this world aren't worth much to you. Those paper dollar bills that are in some bank somewhere, your car, your house, those aren't the things of eternity. If someone in this world wants those things from you, God wants us all to have a great life. He wants us to be prosperous. He wants us to love and be loved. But more importantly, He wants us to be saved. And He wants us to think about the mansions in heaven and the society that He will govern in heaven, where everyone loves everyone else perfectly. So the things on this earth aren't as important as we give them credit for being sometimes. I think those 2 principles outline how God wants us to respond to hate when we see it. With love, with patience, and in a case where someone is coming after you, and in this case it was if you're sued or if someone forces you to walk a mile with them, walk 2. The most powerful way that you can respond to hate is with love. Responding to hate with hate is only going to create more hate and anger. But you can completely turn the paradigm on somebody and disarm them immediately if when they reach out to you in anger, you reach out to them in love. Some of the folks who've had the biggest impact on our history on earth, even those who tried to do it with military might, folks like Hitler, Stalin, I would propose to you, have not made as great an impact on our society as those who reached out in love. Mother Teresa, Gandhi, even Jesus himself. His ministry was all about love. I would tell you that you can change the world more dramatically by treating people with respect, even when they're disrespectful, than you can by coming back at them with hate and anger. Let's go ahead and move on. That's quite a bit of unpacking there on that slide. So just like we are setting an example for our children, setting an example for those around us in the church is also important. I've already talked about how even right now you're communicating with the people around you, even without speaking. What you chose to wear, how you chose to act, whether or not you were friendly when you came in, all of those things are communicating to the people around you, and you're doing it all the time. So understanding the power of that message can help you better precept and mentor folks in the church who are younger in the faith than you. Look to the example of Christ, not to the example of man. I think we've already unpacked that enough. If you want to be truly happy and you want to find an example that will not fail you, look to the example of Christ, not to the example of men. This is one where I said that the sermon might be a little bit for me today. Be less concerned about being right and more concerned about loving others. This is tough for me. And I think it's tough for maybe all of us as Adventists too, because you know what? I really do believe the Adventist Church has a lot to teach the world, to share with the world about prophecy and about what we believe about how, the end of our world here and transitioning to a life with Christ. Our health message. There's a lot of stuff about this church that I think is great, but that's not going to mean anything to anyone if I reach out to them in anger and hate. It won't mean a thing. Not a thing. I have to be willing to say that it's more important for me to love you the way God loves you than to come at you with truth. I can't think of any situations where sinners came to Christ or were brought to Christ, and he said, "You are condemned for your sins. You are damned for what you have done. Take them away." Example after example right here shows us that God's response to people was, "I love you, I forgive you, go forth and try to do better. And remember what you've done and extend it to others. The love that I've given you, give it to the people around you." The last point here, how to become a citizen of heaven today. I really believe that when we get to heaven, we will be better taken care of than we ever have been here on earth. Because here on earth, if you're worried about your own well-being first, then that's one person on this planet who's worried about your well-being, just you, looking out for yourself. In heaven, I believe God's model has us putting ourselves last, putting God first, others second, and ourselves third. If right now in this church I'm only worried about me and not you, I've got one person looking out for my best interests, and that's me. If, however, I take God's model and put you first, and everyone in this room does that too, then suddenly I have over maybe 150 or 200 people worried about my best interest, as opposed to just one. Do you see how much more powerful that is? When we're all loving each other first and ourselves second, just the way God does, that's the model that we can put into practice today to help us become a citizen of heaven today. Putting others first and yourself second. Keeping God first. Go ahead, let's go one more here. I think that's the summation of what I wanted to share with you today. As Carolyn comes up here, we'll get ready to sing our closing hymn. I think Brother Bradley's going to come up. I pray that this week you all have a chance to share your love, the love that God has given you with others around you by sharing your example with them. Remember that God gave His Son Himself, His very own flesh, to be the price for your sin. If you can walk out of this church today, if you can eat lunch and you can take a deep breath, you're blessed. The patient that I had last night, I don't even know if they're still alive. I think I was managing 6 drips last night, 2 vasoactive drips for anyone that's in the healthcare field, ventilators. I mean, every possible measure we had taken over the kidney function for this person. And that's a difficult position to be in. And if I can walk away from that last night and say, I'm blessed and I have an opportunity to love and share with those around me, shame on me if I don't take advantage of that gift that God's given me to share with others. Happy Sabbath.
Thank you, Dan. That was excellent. You have the mic? Our closing hymn is Blessed Assurance, Jesus is Mine. Hymn 462. Stand with me and sing. Everyone with me. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. Heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of His Spirit, washed in His blood. Sing it out. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, this stanza. Come on, ladies. Perfect submission, perfect delight. Visions of rapture now burst on my sight. Angels descending, ring from above. Echoes of mercy, whispers of beautiful, everyone. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. With me now, men, on this stanza. Come on, men. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I with my Savior am happy and blessed. Watching and waiting, looking above, filled with His goodness, lost in His love. Everyone sing it out now. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Just before Dan prays, wonderful sermon that he gave today. I hope that we will think about that. I know I will be. Pastor Bob missed one that I need you to, I'm sure I missed more than one, but I need for you to be a part of this because you're the church body, okay? This is my job here. Membership transfer, second reading. Corey Eller from the Woodland Visalia Church, and Rocky Quinn, Schuyler, and Temperance Clearly from the Visalia Church, and Marilyn Marsh right here from Toledo First Church. And I know you love Toledo, but we're going to love you too, Marilyn. We would like to, along with these people are coming in, and Phil Long and his wife Katie, who were married right here many years ago, they're going to be going to their new home in Houston, these Vietnamese gentlemen. So I'd like to ask if someone would just raise their right hand and make a motion. Okay, good. Second. All in favor? And I will oppose the people leaving, and I will not oppose the people coming. Okay? So that this happens. You know what? It's a pleasure that you are here today. We would not want to not recognize that. So we're going to celebrate your membership today by going over to the fellowship hall and having some food together. But again, what a great worship experience we had. Dan, thank you. Pray with us, bless us, and let's eat together afterwards.
Amen. And now may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you come to trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen.